good evening to you. In just a few moments' time, the 1978 World Cup will be underway in Argentina. The opening ceremony, in fact, that's what we're waiting for. The satellite pictures are due up to Europe from Argentina in just a moment. It gives me a moment as well to welcome very warmly our special guest tonight, Kevin Keegan. Kevin, you've had nearly a week since that brilliant performance of yours for England against Hungary at Wembley. Have you had a good rest?
Yes, thanks, Brian. I've been down to see my wife in UK, and I'm now ready for what I hope is going to be a great World Cup. Are
you, as a professional, as excited about the World Cup that's coming up as the rest of us?
Yeah, I think now I'm excited. At first I was a bit disappointed we're not there, but now I'm really looking forward to a soccer festival, really.
Let's hope it starts today with the opening game, of course, which we shall be seeing after the opening ceremony, which is West Germany, the holders, against Poland, and the kick-off for that is 7 o'clock. In fact, the two teams met in the 1974 World Cup in Germany after a day of torrential rain, so much so, in fact, that the match was delayed. Even so, it was a match packed with excitement, with West Germany in the all-white strip.
The driven ball towards the near post is something Dana goes for. Damascus is going for that, and what a shot from Gadoka. And Lato getting in there with Gadoka. And Lato and Gadoka robbed there, but only just. And Breitner gets a good ball through to Holzenbein. And a penalty, it's got to be. A chance to have a Germany go ahead. Here's Hernis. And a great save by Tomaszewski. Brilliant stuff. Well, we're in the last 15 minutes of this one as Bonhoff goes forward. Muller now with a chance. Yes! And Muller doesn't miss those. Nice play by Overath. Overath coming again. What a brilliant play by Wolfgang Overath. Szymanowski going down the right flank here. Difficult ball. Breitner can't get it. Oh, and a save from Meyer. A brilliant one.
Well, opening games in the World Cup don't have the best of reputations. In fact, the last three have all been goalless draws. Maybe it's just the tension of the occasion that overtakes the players. I've got a feeling this one might be a lot different. Kevin, how do you think it might go? Do you think it'll be a good game of football? Yeah,
obviously I think it's got the ingredients of being a great game. I think both teams can relax in the knowledge that both will qualify anyway. So I don't see any reason why they can't go out and try all the things that they want to do in the World Cup, right from the word go.
The pitch is going to be a problem. In fact, Dania, the Polish captain, has come up with a quote today to say that the River Plate pitch has been a disaster, full of holes, and it looks as if 10 finals have been played on it on the same day. And in fact, if you remember, about 7 weeks ago they had some problems with the drainage system on the River Plate Stadium, and they had to completely returf it. And so that obviously isn't going to help with the opening ceremony coming on it in a few moments' time as well, Kevin.
Well, I wish I was playing on there, Brian, but having said that, obviously the pitch should be in A1 condition because it's got a lot of games to come on it too. But obviously they haven't done their own work properly, and I only hope it doesn't spoil what should be a great game, you know, yes, because the pitch is uneven, maybe.
Yes. At this distance, do you fancy West Germany, although they've been a bit out of form? Yeah,
I think I've got to stick by West Germany because they have a habit of, it's more a habit of getting things right on the day, always, and I see them as being a real threat still for the World Cup. I think people who write them off are foolish, really.
There's going to be plenty of chance for Kevin to expand on those views a bit later on, but now I gather that the pictures are through from Argentina. The opening ceremony is just about underway. Let's join a crowd of close on 80,000 in the River Plate Stadium, and our commentator for the ceremony is Gerald Sinstadt.
This is Argentina 78, scene of the 11th World Cup final. 16 teams, with 77,360 spectators here in the River Plate Stadium in Buenos Aires, and some 600 million television viewers in virtually every corner of the globe. It's just after 10 minutes to 2 Argentina time, and in about an hour from now, Bertie Fuchs will lead out the West German world champions to begin their defence of the trophy. Meanwhile, we have a ceremony of welcome from our Argentine host. Any country that stages one of the world's great sporting festivals is naturally anxious to dress its window in the most impressive manner possible. And I think it can be safely said that that has never been more true than it is here. Flight of pigeons, the eternal symbol, and great stress laid in this opening ceremony on peaceful symbolism. 1,700 children are taking part in this display. They come from schools not only in the city, but over the whole sprawling area of Greater Buenos Aires. They've been chosen not only from state schools, but also from the private schools of the various foreign communities in the Argentine capital. Their ages range from 13 to 17, and that upper limit is not an accident. With no one of voting age taking part, the emphasis is firmly on the innocence of youth, free from any suggestion of political involvement. And it's perhaps significant too that Argentina's president, Lieutenant General Jorge Rafael Fidela, is already present. He took up his position before the ceremony began. He didn't make a formal entry, having said that he wanted as far as possible just to be here as a spectator. And now the children form the words Mundial FIFA. Mundial simply means World Cup. It's the word on everyone's lips in Argentina. It's also the word on key rings, ashtrays, lapel badges and all kinds of bric-a-brac. It's on t-shirts and travel bags. It's even on the specially labelled bottles of one of the very drinkable Argentine wines. And we're seeing from these young people some marvellously drilled precision. These positions taken up in a matter of seconds. Music provided by a military band, and now the beginning of the parade of representatives of the 16 fighters, led by Argentina. The parade will make 2 circuits of the track, breaking off from time to time for marching routines and simple gymnastic displays. Preparations for this ceremony have been kept secret, so the events are unfolding freshly in front of our eyes as much as yours at home. There certainly hasn't been any rehearsal here in the stadium, so the coverage by the Argentine television director and his cameramen is largely spontaneous, although there is a basic timetable of events. There was incidentally a drastically curtailed alternative program as a standby in the event of rain, but the critical hour for implementing that, which was 11 o'clock this morning our time, passed with nothing worse than cloud and a stiff breeze. That football symbolises the World Cup. It's in a kind of horseshoe shape, which you've probably seen as the Argentine 78 symbol. Just a little sunshine at the moment. We had, when we arrived here a week ago, very bright, clear blue skies and very bracing air. There's been some rain occasionally, cloud blowing up from time to time. And a couple of days ago, we had very strong winds and a sharp drop in the temperature. In fact, on Tuesday, the thermometer didn't get above 11 degrees centigrade. That's 52 Fahrenheit. It's still the Argentine flag, blue and white stripes. Pictures being relayed all over the world in colour, but the viewers here in Argentina are seeing them in black and white. And now this marvellous kaleidoscope of flags. The flags of the FIFA nations, more members than the United Nations. 146 countries in all. And now comes the first of the visiting countries. In fact, West Germany, who will shortly be playing the opening game. Only Brazil have a better record in the World Cup. The Germans have won it twice. They were runners-up to England, of course, in 1966, and they've twice finished third. Understandably, the occasion is creating enormous interest in the Federal Republic. Sitting of the Bundestag has been amended today so that their will be opportunity for the representatives to see this transmission on television. Behind the standard there, incidentally, come 2, or in some cases 4 young people in national costume, the costumes having been provided by the embassies of the competing countries. Argentina, the host nation, learned their football originally from the Britons who came here to build the railways. That was over 100 years ago, and there was another big influence from the Italians who settled here after the First World War. And it wasn't until 1930 that Argentine football first embraced professionalism. Behind Argentina, Austria. The last time they reached the finals in 1958, they found themselves in a group with England and Brazil and finished bottom. It was in that year, incidentally, that Austria's present manager, Helmut Snekovic, won his 18 international caps, but he didn't play in the finals. Now Brazil, the only country to have played in all 11 World Cup finals. Permanent holders of the original Jules Rimet trophy, following their third victory in Mexico 8 years ago. And colourful costumes, quite naturally. And there is a sight that will warm hearts at home. The banner of Scotland. Brazil, the country which can draw the largest population, 110 million, followed by the country with the smallest population of the 16 finalists, just 5 million. And now Spain, who will be the hosts in 4 years from now. Spain were the last of the 16 finalists to arrive in Buenos Aires. They completed their build-up with a week in Uruguay and flew in here only 2 days ago. But in a Spanish-speaking country, they naturally got a tumultuous welcome at the airport. Next, France. One of the countries fancied by many as dark horses. Their first match tomorrow will be against Italy, with whom they've been sharing living and training quarters at a superb country club on the outskirts of Buenos Aires. Holland, the runners-up from 1974, they've come here with more players from the last tournament than any of the other countries. 12 of their squad were in Germany, and 9 of them played in the final. One of the absentees from the Dutch side, of course, is Johan Cruyff, which may not do Holland much good, but it's provided a very powerful recruit for the ITV team. Hungary, another of the dark horses from Europe, their prospects somewhat thrown into question by their performance last week at Wembley, and I'm sure many of you at home will feel that Hungary's performance here will provide a guide to how England might have fared. This looks like the Italian contingent. We seem to have got a little bit out of alphabetical order because we were expecting Iran to come there. But now Iran behind Italy. They're very much the unknown quantity. Played more qualifying games than anyone else, 11 in all. And their defence kept a clean sheet in 9 of them. But it's difficult to tell how we should judge victories over countries like Saudi Arabia, Hong Kong, and Australia and Kuwait. And now the Mexicans. Not many people, I think, rate their chances very highly, but those of us who visited them for the 1970 finals retain an affection generated by the warmth of their hospitality. Always a touch of sunshine from the Mexicans. And now the surprise bracket of the South American qualifiers, Peru. There are many Uruguayans who feel dissatisfied that they are not here while Peru are. But as England know to their cost, qualifying games have to be won. Poland in the finals for the 3rd time. They beat Brazil in the 3rd place playoff last time. But in the dressing rooms over on the other side of the pitch here, I expect their thoughts now will be only of West Germany, and the opening match due to start in about another 58 minutes. All of the running track now virtually filled by the representatives of the 16 finalists. multicolours for the tracksuits, blues, greens, yellows, oranges and reds and purples. Sweden, for their size, only just over 8 million people, they have a marvellous World Cup record, semi-finalists in 1938 and 1950, beaten finalists in their own country in 1958, and indeed in one of the best finals ever, when the young Pelé startled us. The Swedish squad, incidentally, includes only 6 full professionals, all of whom play abroad. Their manager, Abby Eriksson, is said to be the lowest paid team boss here, and their own brochure says that their chances of doing as well as in 74, and I quote, are not thought to be very great. Well, modesty couldn't go much further. Brand new scoreboard here at the River Plate Stadium, incidentally, which can be put to a wide variety of uses. Still one of the 16 finalists whose representatives we haven't seen, and that's the last in alphabetical order, Tunisia. But now some of the gymnastics from the Buenos Aires children. Rehearsals for this ceremony began as long ago as August last year, a program devised by professors at the government-run Institute for Sport and Gymnastics. And there are the Tunisian representatives. So far Africa hasn't made a showing in the finals, but in my view Tunisia are the best team to come from that huge continent so far. I caught up with them in Europe a couple of weeks ago, and a more cheerful bunch you couldn't wish to find. They'll be in especially good heart today too, because this opening ceremony coincides with the 9th anniversary of Tunisia's National Day. Most of the girls with their hair tied back in bunches, all very smart and exceedingly well rehearsed. The rehearsals were coordinated by a team of 3 women and a man, and they originally began with the children in small groups in their own schools, supervised by their teachers, and the children were then asked to practice at home, so the parents were involved as well. The change from keeping an eye on the algebra. You'll notice that most of the exercises and display which we are seeing is taking place on the running track, and there's very little movement on the pitch itself. The children out there forming the Mundial symbol, remaining still. The whole ceremony designed to preclude as far as possible movement on the pitch, which is a somewhat touchy subject. There was no play on it for 15 months. The River Plate Club took their home games to another ground, to the Huracan Club, so that this pitch could be prepared, and then, as you surely heard, they had drainage problems and the pitch suffered greatly, and so it became imperative that this opening ceremony shouldn't cause too many problems of wear and tear on the pitch. The track, incidentally, is not artificial in the way that we've become accustomed to seeing tracks in Europe. One of the old-fashioned cinder tracks. The Scots flag, proudly borne there. The two school children marching with the flag, incidentally, come from Buenos Aires, Victor Portnoy and Viviana Ortonello.
Vai falar da abertura oficial do Mundial 1961. A entrada do turismo, do dia da entrada em Gênesis, e a Alemanha correrá para o início às 3 horas da partida aqui no Monumental de Lúcia.
Picture of deep concentration is what it might be. The music, incidentally, is an arrangement of Argentine folk tunes made by one of the country's leading military band musicians, but the actual Mundial March itself, composed by an Italian. Well, now they've completed the 2 laps with the standards of the 16 finalists, and now the children themselves will give us a series of flag maneuvers, and then there will be a gymnastics display. Hardly bears thinking what would happen if 1 or 2 of them got it wrong. But absolute precision. And now the flags of the FIFA nations go into the centre of the star, whose rays are formed by the school children. And now that is complete. The flag bearers of the 16 finalist nations will take up their positions, one at each point of the rays of the stars. They come in 4s, one from each corner of the pitch. The whole of this opening ceremony, incidentally, is under the control of the Argentine FA. FIFA's authority doesn't begin until the players take the pitch for the first match. So now I expect you can see we have a double circle in the middle of the pitch there. The flags of the FIFA nations inside the circle, and the bearers of the flags of the 16 finalist countries walking round the outside. Clouds thinning and the sun shining.
O Monumental de Lúcia. Esse jogo que vai começar às 3, e a Alemanha, inclusive, escalada pelo seu treinador Helmut Kohl, trazendo Bayer, Guzman, Zimmermann.
The children are seated, and they too are holding flags, which now unfurl into the 16 flags of the finalist countries. A magical touch. Brilliantly done. great roar of applause from this huge bowl of the River Plate Stadium. And some fine shots from the high cameras.
Quando ganhou da França em 1962 no Chile, saiu nas quartas, perdeu para a Iugoslávia. Em 66 ficou na final, perdeu para a Inglaterra na prorrogação, 4-2 lá em Londres.
Just enough breeze out there in the centre to stir the flags, but I would think you might deduce from what you see there that it won't be enough to provide any serious inconvenience for the players. Argentina's president. The youngsters reform their original positions. And they're in place now for the beginning of the gymnastics display. Display accompanied partly by military bands and partly by drums high up in the stand, in fact about 6 feet behind my left ear. Lieutenant General Fidela, the Argentine president. Now the children are coming to the touchline of the pitch to drop their flags. I think we can say that the applause they get has been well earned. Verbal instructions to accompany the exercises. I said earlier that rehearsals for this ceremony have been carried out in strict secrecy, but in one respect that was only partially true. Because of the parental involvement from the outset, and because the children had to be escorted, rehearsals did take place in front of mothers and fathers, and as time went on, the mothers and fathers brought uncles and aunts, and the uncles and aunts brought cousins and grandparents, until in the last 4 weeks, when the children have been together for several mass dress rehearsals, the fond relatives got together in their thousands and cheered on the youngsters as though it were a cup final. The stadium, as you can see, absolutely packed. Remains to be seen how good attendances will be, but first round matches here are sure to have a full house because Argentina play all 3 of their first round games in the River Plate Stadium. Spain, Austria and Sweden will play their Buenos Aires matches at the Villa Sarsfield Stadium in another part of the city. There's certainly plenty of potential here for support, including the suburbs. It's a city of 9 million inhabitants. They sustain 55 theatres, 124 cinemas, there are 4 commercial TV stations, 14 radio stations. It's an English language newspaper, the Buenos Aires Herald, and another in German. Another feature of Buenos Aires is some of the most alarming traffic I've ever encountered. This is difficult to understand why 2 of Argentina's most famous sportsmen have been Juan Fangio and Carlos Reutemann. Exercises very obviously for the young and supple. It is, I suppose, ironic that all these young people celebrating the opening of one of the world's major sporting events should do so surrounded by a massive security operation with armed soldiers and police involved in huge numbers. The routine checks have been irritating and frustrating for all of us, but I think it's fair to say that there's little doubt that the precautions would be much the same if we were playing in Moscow or indeed in London. No one these days takes chances.
Para finalmente, em 1964, o Mundial da Alemanha, a Polônia conseguiu o seu melhor título até aqui em participações.
Besides packing the stadium, this occasion is likely to give Argentine television one of its biggest audiences ever. The government declared a national half-holiday today for all its employees, and they've urged the public sector to do likewise. Now the children who marched behind the banners of the 16 finalists reform their positions as we come towards the end of this gymnastic ceremony. And I'm bound to say that there has been hardly any sign of raggedness in this vast throng of children, almost 2,000 of them. The stadium was opened to the public, incidentally, nearly 4.5 hours ago, and at the top of the stands, away to the left and right of us, are standing areas, and they were the first to be filled. All FIFA's top brass represented in the celebrity stands.
João Almirante. E para encerrar, o presidente da Argentina, o general Videla, aos 15 para as 3. Encerramento de todas as cerimônias de abertura. Entradas das duas equipes, Alemanha e Polônia. Entrada do trio de arbitragem. E finalmente, às 6 horas, Alemanha e Polônia. O torneio inicial do Mundial 1978. Enquanto
A sight to gladden the hearts of Kink Fit enthusiasts all over the world. Joggers of the world unite. That's part of the standing area.
a resolução ficou aprovada no Congresso de Barcelona em maio de 1918 e se elegeu o Uruguai como sede do primeiro campeonato mundial. Durante a reunião da Comissão Organizadora,
The flag bearers emerge as the gymnastics display ends. First, once again, the 16 finalist countries. And on the far side of the pitch, the representatives of all the FIFA nations. There was, incidentally, a very precise timetable set out for this ceremony, and as far as I can see, we are running within seconds of what was forecast. Now we have a very complicated manoeuvre, and I think you'll very quickly see what is taking shape here. It's the symbol of the 1978 World Cup. Curved lines on the sides are a stylized representation of cupped hands, and when you consider that selling franchises to reproduce this sign on all kinds of merchandise has helped recoup some of the £350 million that it's cost to stage the World Cup, you may feel that as a symbol it's not inappropriate. We're now not far from the end of this opening ceremony. In about 34 minutes the football begins with West Germany versus Poland. And 3.5 of those minutes will be filled with one of the world's longest national anthems, an expression of Argentina's history and aspirations. An anthem in which the Argentine spectators will join in singing words that begin, "Hear mortals, the sacred cry, liberty, liberty, liberty."
Polônia e Alemanha que começam a direita aqui, e amanhã, pela manhã, o mesmo gol de 7 da rádio vai seguir o técnico da seleção brasileira, Cláudio, para a tarde, para o treinamento da manhã. E agora você tem nacional da Argentina, formando o
Hello, Gerald Sinstadt. Someone calling.
La banda, integrada con músicos de las tres Fuerzas Armadas, acordes del himno nacional argentino. Y a continuación va a hacer uso de la palabra el señor presidente de la Asociación del Fútbol Argentino. Habla el doctor Alfredo Francisco Cantilo.
Señores miembros de la Junta Militar de Gobierno, señor presidente de la FIFA, señor presidente de la Corte Suprema de Justicia, señor cardenal primado, excelencias, señoras, señores, al iniciarse la Copa Mundial de la FIFA, a vosotros, integrantes de las delegaciones extranjeras que nos visitan, y a todos cuantos de una u otra forma participan en la misma, os decimos bienvenidos. Bienvenidos al magno certamen del fútbol mundial y bienvenidos a esta tierra de paz, libertad y justicia que se siente honrada con vuestra presencia. Agradecemos a la Federación Internacional de Football Association el mandato que nos confiriera para organizar un acontecimiento que reviste máxima trascendencia en el mundo del deporte. Sentimos plena satisfacción por haber asumido nuestras responsabilidades, poniendo al servicio del cumplimiento de este mandato el esfuerzo de todo el país y el apoyo de sus habitantes. Aspiramos a que la justa deportiva que nos congrega constituya en ocasión de cada encuentro una verdadera fiesta en la que los competidores revelen alta capacidad física y técnica, inteligencia y fibra moral, hidalguía y entereza. Aspiramos a que los millones de espectadores que seguirán por distintos medios el desarrollo de este torneo encuentren en él motivo de sano esparcimiento, franco optimismo y fraterno lazo de unión entre todos los pueblos. Aspiramos a que Buenos Aires, Córdoba, Mar del Plata, Mendoza y Rosario sean los heraldos de una Argentina que se muestra al mundo colmada de bellezas naturales y plena de obras fecundas, ejecutadas por un pueblo noble y capaz, consciente de sus derechos y responsable de sus obligaciones. Aspiramos a que el concierto de las naciones, con nuestro ejemplo, entone un himno de fe y esperanza que se alce como clamor universal por un mundo de paz, amor y respeto. Convencidos de que todos los participantes de esta Copa Mundial se hallan compenetrados de los mismos anhelos, estamos seguros que el fútbol, como expresión del deporte más popular, será fiel intérprete de esas aspiraciones y sentimientos.
Hugh Jones.
De uno a otro confín, el mundo nos mira ansioso y expectante. No lo defraudaremos. Por último, deseamos a todos nuestros visitantes
Abbiano falando e também o general Fidel, o presidente da Argentina. Informando o Deflan. In about.
El señor presidente de la Asociación de Fútbol Argentino, doctor don Alfredo Francisco Cantilo. De inmediato se va a escuchar la palabra del señor presidente de la Federación Internacional de Fútbol Asociada, don Joao Avalanche.
Excelências, senhores, gobernantes directivos de la Junta de la República de Argentina, autoridades civiles, autoridades militares, autoridades eclesiásticas, señor presidente de la AFA, pueblo de Argentina, es grande mi emoción en este momento al declarar en mi calidad de presidente de la FIFA iniciados los Juegos en disputa de la Copa del Mundo del 1978. Coronamos aquí un gran esfuerzo desarrollado en largos meses de dedicación y tenacidad por los dirigentes deportivos, por las autoridades y por el pueblo de Argentina para tornar posible este instante de esplendor. Este ha sido un trabajo gigantesco que una vez más demuestra la capacidad realizadora y del dinamismo de esta gran nación y realiza la importancia del fútbol para su pueblo. Nosotros que aquí nos hallamos, provenientes de todas las regiones del mundo, nos regocijamos con este espectáculo magnífico, adornado por el esplendor de Buenos Aires. Aquí como en otras latitudes, encontramos en el fútbol como fuerza insuperable de atracción popular, como agente movilizador de las puras alegrías del deporte. Es esta fuerza que nosotros, pertenecientes a la FIFA, deseamos colocar al servicio de la comprensión y de la paz entre los hombres. Y es este el gran sentido de la competición que vamos a iniciar. En nombre de la FIFA, al saludar a los deportistas aquí reunidos para este gran torneo, quiero agradecer al gobierno, a los dirigentes deportivos y al pueblo de Argentina la contribución valiosa que traen al ideal que defendemos en nuestra entidad al ofrecer con su país el escenario maravilloso para la Copa del Mundo de 1978. Muchas gracias.
Ha sido la palabra del señor presidente de la Federación Internacional de Fútbol Asociada, don Joao Avalanche. dejar oficialmente inaugurado este 11º torneo mundial de fútbol Argentina 78.
Hello.
La palabra del excelentísimo
Yeah,
señor
this is you.
presidente de
Yeah.
la nación argentina. Habla.
Say again, say again. Yeah. Yes, I could do it a little bit more volume if you can give it to me. If you can't, don't bother, though.
Habla el teniente general don Jorge Rafael Videla.
But I have you loud and clear. Oh, that's nice. I got myself coming back loud and clear.
Señoras, señores, hoy es un día de júbilo para nuestro país, la nación argentina. Dos circunstancias concurren a ese efecto. La iniciación de un evento deportivo en escala internacional, como lo es este Campeonato Mundial de Fútbol 78. Por otro lado, la amistosa visita de miles de mujeres y hombres procedentes de las más diversas regiones de la tierra nos honran hoy con su visita. La sola condición de su buena voluntad, en un clima de afecto y de respeto recíproco. Y es justamente la confrontación en el campo deportivo y la amistad en el campo de relaciones humanas que nos permiten afirmar que es posible, aún hoy en nuestros días, la convivencia en unidad y en la diversidad. Única forma para construir la paz. Por ello, pido a Dios nuestro Señor que este evento sea realmente una contribución para afirmar la paz. Esa paz que todos deseamos para todo el mundo y para todos los hombres del mundo. Esa paz dentro de cuyo marco el hombre pueda realizarse plenamente como persona con dignidad y en libertad. En el marco de esta confrontación deportiva caracterizada por su caballerosidad, en el marco de la amistad entre los hombres y los pueblos, y bajo el signo de la paz,